Welcome to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Circle.
Hello and welcome to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast, where we explore the evolving world of leadership, talent, and people's transformation with global experts shaping the future of work. This is your host today, Shabana, and we are diving deep into a topic that's often misunderstood, and yet it is massively impactful, which is busting the myths behind leadership development in the corporate world. To explore this, I am honored to be joined by someone who truly sits at the cutting edge of leadership and human capital strategy. Our guest today is a globally recognized human capital and talent strategist with over 26 years of experience across banking, aviation, logistics, and financial services. Please welcome Srijith Nair, a doctoral researcher in AI and HR strategy, who is also an award-winning HR leader. Srijith, a very warm welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here today. Would you like to share a bit about your journey so far? I'm sure our listeners would be eager to know that.
Okay, thank you, Shabana. Thank you for that warm welcome and a good introduction. Just want to correct, I am not heading human capital, but I'm heading human capital strategy, talent management, leadership development, culture engagement, and those are the things that I manage. But just to give you a perspective, I have about, as you said, this year marks my 27th year of working experience and started off way back in 1998. So I started off with aviation industry, worked with an organization called Jet Airways, and I'm sure some of you would be recalling one of the first private airline, one of them, because there were a few before, but one of the bigger private airlines, and I was working there. And then I moved to working with Sri Lankan Airlines, another bigger organization, national carrier of Sri Lanka. And then I got an opportunity to work, moved from aviation industry to financial services, worked with a global giant in life insurance, which is Max New York Life, and I've been with them. And then from there, I worked with AXA, again in life insurance, was managing their entire learning and development for the South Division, managing up to the Vice President programs. And then I moved to work with Aditya Birla Group, and I was associated with them for about 15 odd years. And in that stint, I had worked in almost all the capacity of HR. I've been a part of sales training, and then leadership development, corporate training, and talent management, organizational development, and even the business HR function. So culture, engagement, and so on and so forth. So that stint gave me a lot of breadth into my profession and the career that I wanted to take. And then, as luck would say, I got an opportunity to move out of India, and I moved to Dubai and had a great opportunity to work with Landmark Group, where I was managing their entire talent management and leadership development for the group level. And from there, got to work with Dubai Islamic Bank, again, a similar role. Now I'm placed in Saudi. Unfortunately, I'll not be able to take the name of the organization, but I am heading their talent and engagement, culture, leadership development, and AI strategy for sure. So that's a little bit about me, but I'm also I'm very passionate about academics as well. So I'm currently pursuing my doctorate, research scholar I am, and I'm doing my research around AI in HR. So that's something in terms of that. And apart from that, I have done my master's in MBA. I'm a psychology student. I've done my MSc in psychology. That really helps me in the HR part of it, right? So both. More in terms of business and psychology. Now with AI and psychology, which is something that I'm really excited about the way forward. Apart from that, I have numerous certifications. I have, I have taken, especially in psychometrics, and more importantly, I'm also a certified coach, not only in executive coaching, but also life coaching and performance coaching and happiness coaching. So those are things that I'm also excited about, and I started doing these things. So yeah, that's pretty much about my career journey thus far, and yeah, it's going good.
That was a very interesting journey. I'm like very sure that would be very insightful to have a conversation with you today. I'm very excited. So let's just dive straight to the conversation then. Well,
Sure.
for the very first question, I would ask you, Srijit, that one of the most enduring leadership myths is that leaders are born and they are not made, right? So, from your wide area of research and experience in this corporate HR and psychology, what would be your take on this? Like, is leadership an innate trait or a set of skills that can be developed?
Okay, it's an interesting question, Shabana. Very interesting question. Let me tell you one thing. I out of the 27 years I just mentioned, 22 odd years have been only in the learning function and training, and I'm a facilitator. So I'm in this. So let me kind of flip that and ask you this question. What do you think? I know it's a very tricky question, whether the chicken came first or the hen came first. So that's kind of a question. So what do you think?
Well, I think it's a bit of a mix of both. I would not agree on either because I think some people are born with certain qualities, and leadership for sure is one of that. It might not be true that you cannot develop it. Of course, you can with certain skills, but it might take you some time compared to certain other people who might be just born with those qualities. So that would be my view. But of course, we are here to talk about your
It's
experience. So
important to, thanks for sharing that view. It's important to know that, because there are people like you, and there are the house is divided. Basically, there are one set of people who really believes that it's no, it can be developed, and there are other set of people who think that it's born. People are born, and some people like you are in the centric side. They say that, okay, I'm not here or there, so let me be here. Okay, so partially you're right. In a sense, yes, it can be developed, and there are people who are born. So let me kind of, I hope that we can take some examples of history. So again, I'm sorry, because just to have I don't want to sound like monologue, so I want to ask this question again to you. If we talk about leaders, right? One or two or top three leaders who comes to your mind, who are those? When someone talks about leaders, who are those guys, characters who comes to your mind?
well, it is divided into different areas of life. It
Perfect.
only yeah it only I don't know if I can name one, two, and three like that because it is
Okay,
like you
give me
talk.
something. What is top of the mind? The personalities which came to mind your mind when it comes to leadership.
Well, number one has to be APJ Abdul Kalam, if I'm talking
Hmm.
about the
Okay.
political area of living. And then
Okay.
there are others in different areas in genres. And like, for example, if I talk of cricket, I would definitely say Sachin Tendulkar. And then if I talk about, it just can go on in based on my interest areas. Like, there are certain idols, like I'm too much into singing, so I think I would talk about Lata Mangeshkar, and my current favorite is obviously Shreya Ghoshal. So there are leaders that they are going to give it away to the next generation. So
True.
yeah.
True. Pretty interesting, Shabana. But all the three that you just mentioned, and most of them are more of, they're the best in what they do. They are highly skilled, highly talented people in their own scheme of things, right?
Exactly, that's what I
But
meant. Yeah.
yeah, so just a little different when we talk about leadership. Leadership are the people who kind of transform the world. They have built in. They've gotten change. They have got some innovation into this. They have inspired people, right? I can agree, about Dr. KPJ Abdul Kalam, and he is an inspiration for me as well. I think one of his book, which I remember, is also Wings. I remember one of the book that he wrote, and it is widely circulated. And I didn't read the entire book, but I've seen a few of the lessons written by him. Amazing personality. He's one great academician, great scholar, but amazing leader as well, because he was heading ISRO at one point in time, and then people under him have to kind of talk volume about it. So this debate is ancient, Shabana, very ancient. So this is not something which I'll come back to APJ as well. This is a very ancient one. If I have to give you some references from the mythology, the Indian mythology, we morely the revered Arjuna, or probably the Krishnas and other things that people will talk about. Though it is like mythology, but the characters are widespread in India, right? So the people, or maybe even if you take the kings, the most of the kings that we talk about, let it be Akbar, or let it be we talk about all those Mughal empires who came in, or the Ashoka empires, all those people. I mean, do you think that they have ever been to any leadership academy and then got themselves trained, and then they came out with becoming as the top leader? Well, there is no history, or there is nothing written there, so we will assume that no, they didn't, right? So that's where, even for instance, do you think that Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam had gone to some leadership development program apart from going to IIT or IIT Madras and qualifying? I don't think so. That's more technical, right? But those are things which was there in him, right? Yeah. So if it actually see. For me, even if you would actually see, so one is the mythology, the real life examples that we talk about. Often I recall, and I'm sure you would be recalling Alexander the Great, right?
Yes.
Now, we talk about these characters. These are very epitome of success. I mean, do you know that Alexander conquered almost so many countries, 10, 20 odd countries. At what age? At less than 25 years, he kind of conquered most of the world, and he had a large army to lead. I don't think he would have ever got a time to go to any of any academies, and then there would be somebody kind of developing him. No, he probably would have had some mentors. I don't disagree that he would have. He had some lineage, and then he was a son of a king and other things. But there were other kids also for the king. But how come Alexander himself, rose to this, whatever it is? And mind you, he died at 32. So he started off as young as early. The late teens, and then conquered the world, and then by 32 he died as well. So everything is over. You spoke about the sporting activity as well. Let's talk from there, right? Now, Sachin Tendulkar or Dhoni? If I have to give you this option, I know you are inclined towards Sachin Tendulkar, but Sachin or Dhoni, whom do you think are good leaders?
Well, Dhoni for sure has been a
I'm not talking about the skill. Sorry?
Yeah, he has been a renowned captain. His captaincy has stretched over ages. Everyone knows, like even young boys who might have not been at the time when Dhoni was playing, I'm sure they would still take Dhoni's name, even though they will first come up with Virat Kohli. So,
absolutely. So different time, different way. But then we get often confused with the skill, again, as I told you, right? A player plays, right? But to lead that, you need a different skill altogether. Now, a Dhoni may not have the greatest skill, a cricketing skill, like a Sachin or a Virat. But if you see a Sachin or a Virat, they were not a great leaders. They were not able to lead the Indian team. Now, if you'd actually see who are the greatest captain of Indian team, if somebody is asking, I'm sure many of them would be able to say that it is undisputed Dhoni or a Kapil Dev, and then it goes on Azharuddin, and then that's how the names goes on. But when it comes to the biggest, the greatest of the all-time player in terms of skills, it is Sachin, or it could be Virat, and there would be a few more coming up. But not, we are here talking about leadership, right? So we are talking about whether Dhoni, and I want to give you an interesting thing. Dhoni wanted, what sport he wants to play? He wanted to play to start off with, early career. He wanted to be a footballer.
Oh yeah.
He wanted to be a footballer, and he, not cricket. So his coach identified his skills. He was doing a wonderful goalkeeping, part, and very good goalie. And trust me, they thought that, okay, तुम तो अच्छी तरह गोल पकड़ रहे हो, तो आके वहां पे विकेट कीपिंग कर लो. So that is how he came and then started playing, and then rest is history, and he became the biggest player, and everybody talks about it. If you go and then talk about any player in the contemporary Indian team, either they would be inspired by him, or they would have played and then they would have really been awestruck with his captaincy. So those are things that which we need to kind of constantly think about it. Now, I spoke about mythology, and we spoke about some the modern characters or the sporting things. We even spoke about the Dr. APJ and many people. What I'm trying to say is that even Confidi meta study was done, and you know what it says? Only 18% leaders emerge primarily through training. 18%. The rest are high nature, high instinct. They are very good, right? Very good, high natured, high instinct leaders whose development accelerates because of their internal wiring, and that's what psychology says. So you need to have it in you. It's like genetic. Now, even for example, if I have to give you some closer reference, you would say that Lata Mangeshkar is a gifted singer.
Correct.
Right? You named who's the other singer that you said? Sorry?
Shreya Ghoshal.
Shreya Ghoshal, gifted, right? So we say gifted. We say gifted cricketer. We say gift of talent and all those things, right? So is with leadership as well. You need to have it in you. You know what? I'm telling this after seeing many leaders that I had, we tried developing. Even the organizations are doing it. They identify potential. They don't actually randomly put every Tom, Dick, and Harry into a leadership development programs and try to develop. No. What they essentially do is they would try to identify the potential in people. And what are the potential? Is nothing but the leadership traits. They would see whether the person has that innate leadership traits, and then they would put them into a leadership academy and try to, bring their best out of. So, which means, to me, it's very simple. You need to have it in raw form, and then what we can do from an organization or anything is polishing the diamond and get the best out of it. So you can sharpen the skills. You probably can build frameworks and expose them to the best of the experiences that we can show. So therefore, I completely, after 27 years looking at everything, you need to have it. It cannot be developed. You need to have it. After that, we can polish it. So that's my stance, and that's where I stand.
Okay, so maybe I was not so wrong when I stated my stance as well.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Great. So I think we can move on to the next question, because it was a great start. It really lays the foundation how we understand leadership itself now. So another common assumption is that leadership development should focus only on senior executives or the top level management when we come to talk about corporate HR, right? So do you think this approach is flawed? If yes, what are the risks organizations run when they neglect the mid-level or the frontline leaders for their development?
Yes, it is flawed, and I completely agree to it. But if you'd ask me, why is it happening? Of course, those are the people who influence. Those are the people who have to signing authority, and of course, they're the people who kind of manage things outwardly, and so on and so forth. But to me, I would say that yes, they need to be trained, but then entirely focusing only on executive leadership programs may not be the right approach. So I would say that it is, if someone is going to be focusing only there, then it's going to be completely flawed, and not just flawed. It is strategically dangerous. Why? Because most of these leaders that you're talking about are about 40, 45, 50-year-old people, and who have already done something in their life, and then they have reached there. So it's like, if I have to give you another parallel to with sports. You will not coach a Sachin Tendulkar after he gets into the Indian team. Now, of course, he needs to have a skill, right? He has reached the Indian skill team, and he has become a captain. Now, why do you want to keep on spending on his coaching? Of course, there are other skills, and there is consistent one. But you don't have to build him. He's already there. He has played from his gully cricket, and from all the way there, he has reached. So he has reached because there is something in him, there is some spark in him, and therefore he has reached there. So what you need to do, so these 40 or 50-year-old people, their runway is very less. So which means that a 50-year-old gentleman or a lady who's managing the big show, they would be focused on how to kind of grow the organization and teach them about the latest happenings, the new skills which is coming up, and not on leadership. They have that new skills, new updates, and things like that, so that they will sustain the growth and innovation and stuff like that. But if you don't focus on people, which is your pipeline, because I manage talent management as well, and we need to have succession. So if you don't build the pipeline of people, when these guys get into their, so to say, sunset time, when they are going to be like retiring or they need to move out, whom do you place with? You need to have people, you need to have this people kind of taking up there. So it's important that at layer level, so therefore in my previous organizations and we have extensively worked around young talent management. So we identify young talent, we kind of, train them, develop them, so that whenever there is a need for the next level, these are the set of people who will be, focused on. I'm not saying that all organizations are doing it, but yes, predominantly most of the organizations, whatever the budget they have, they focus only on the executive leadership, program, and the rest of them, I think that's not happening. Interestingly, if I have to again draw a parallel with ancient warfare systems, I talk about Alexander, right? Do you think that Alexander? I told you, Alexander never would have gone to any leadership training or anything. But his commanders, his ministers, his advisors, his warriors, his diplomats, all of them would have been somewhere, got trained or mentored by someone, So those are the people who are kind of helping these kings. So they would be constantly getting into some kind of warfare discussions, conversations, and maybe if let's say not a developmental or capability, building as such, but there would be something which has been identified, and they would be prepared as well. So this has been happening for many years now. It's not only that. So kings are not only focused on themselves; they would focus on their one down, two down, or maybe the entire team up to the foot soldier. So you know what? I would want to conclude by saying that a king or maybe the CEO or the N-1s are only a part of the ecosystem, but the large part of the ecosystems are the layers which are there. And if you don't focus on these people, what you will do is your execution breaks, because you might be a great strategist, you might have a great vision, but if you don't have the people who have the capability to execute these things, I think your strategy is never going to be taken off. So therefore, I personally believe that you focus on a leadership, development for your executives. But yes, more you need to be focused on your young talent and mid talent who would be able to take up to the next level. So that's what I would want to conclude with.
Okay, that was interesting. I mean that shift from the that shifts the spotlight, from the C-suite down to everyday decision makers, and I think I agree to that. So, well, I think that brings me to the next question, that many organizations, still equate management with leadership, and as if good managers will automatically become good leaders. So, based on your background in psychology and HR, why is that a misconception, and what distinguishes real leadership from mere management?
Okay. So first thing first, management and leadership are not the same. But yes, we often get confused with this, because the modern day education system, if you've been to IIMs or ISBs or probably the best of the B schools and other things, you think that who comes out of that will be a great leader, and this, not at least to the people who are running the show, but widely in the ecosystem, that's how it's felt. You do an MBA, then you're good, so okay, this guy or a girl who's very good and has that leadership traits and things like that. It's not that way. Management studies, as you know, it's more on task based. It's about the ability to design processes. It's about how to build efficiencies, so those are the stuffs which we talk about management. It understands business, how to read a balance sheet, and how to plan, and the processes needs to be how they need to be made. So that's a study that management covers, right? Market research and so on and so forth. So the entire ambit of how to do a business, but the leadership just sits on top of it. How to lead. So these are two different things. People often confuse with leadership and management. So, what one has to understand in psychology, which since you asked about this, managers rely on executive functioning. So, which means that whatever we as managers we are doing, they only kind of focus in terms of execution. That's where it is. It's like, as I told you, it's like more on how to plan. So they do a strategy for that year. If the strategy is given, now they would do a planning. They would try to do some sequencing of how to kind of get this thing done, or probably organizing an event, or probably organizing this entire organization. So on and so forth. But leaders on effective and social intelligence systems. So they are more in terms of getting people, getting thinking. As I told you in the beginning, they are more of people who talk about change management. It's not easy, Shabana. It's definitely not easy when the crisis situation hits you, and when there is something that you don't see at all. The ability to see through is more important, and that's what the leadership does. And that's why I said it's born. Some people have the vision, who can see through the fog, who can see through something which is completely smoky, but they will be able to see through it, right? But management people are, once these guys see and then tell, these people will be very good in terms of organizing and getting the machine move. So it's very confusing always, so much so that I remember one of the Harvard's study, which was done as recent as 2023. It is called as leadership genome, research. So it said only 22% of high-performing managers naturally transition into high-performing roles. So that's the way it is. So from even if you see most of our epics in India, as they say, that not everyone who's a great warrior can become a leader, right? A lot of epics are there. They would be the best in terms of the bow and archery or the warfare and other things, but their names are not there. You hear only one Arjuna, you hear only one Krishna, you hear only one Akbar, or you hear only one Genghis Khan. That's you would see that very famous, and I love to read his book and how he had went around and then conquered the world. But there are other set of people who also would have been there, who have been fighting, but only these set of people will come in. As I told you, you had the best Sachin Tendulkar, but unfortunately he was not a great captain. He was never known as a great captain. So that's kind of difference that we try to bring upon. So a manager is a great executor, but a leader is actually granted by people. So not by a job title. That's what I would invite you to read a book if you're not already done. Leading Without Title. Leading Without Title. Now, so we always often kind of think that if I am a CEO, only then I can lead. No, so that is not becoming a leader, right? Of course, you need to have leadership skills to do it, but those who don't have the designation, the title, but yet who can make the changes in the organization. Now, those are the clear leaders, and they will get their due, right? History has often said, the greatest of the people have not become that and become great. It's the journey, that time when they started the journey, they were nothing, right? So that's how it is. How do you lead without title? So that's what leaders do. So just to conclude, I have to say, there is a huge difference between management and leadership. Not necessary that people who go to the top Ivy League programs and executive programs and IIMs and ISBs and all that would become a great leader for the organization. Yes, they would have very good strategic bent of mind, domain acumen and conceptual ability, but not necessary that they have that thing that I just told you, the genetic predisposition, right? of the things there. You would see a lot of people coming from IIMs and ISBs also becoming a great leader. Yes, because they already had that. But not everyone who is passing out of those management skills are always successful, right? So those are the things. You know what? I must tell you, I'm also a professor, by the way. I teach AI and management programs in top B schools, especially in Dubai and Middle East. So I know about myself. I don't know. I cannot be a great leader or not, that yet to be tested around that. But if management or the knowledge is the most important one, and management concepts is the most important one, most of the professors who are sitting there would have been the greatest leaders right today, right? Or maybe leading any top organizations, because they have the conceptual knowledge. But these are two different things. They also passionately want to teach, but they may not have the thing which makes a person a CEO. Else all these good gentlemen would have been there in the top of the business. They'd be advisors. They could be a good dronacharya. They could be a good coach. But this is a different ballgame altogether. So that's leaders, management and leaders. Yeah. I hope I was...
Of course, my God, that was a critical distinction, and you brought a lot of clarity to it. Thank you so much. So let's move on to the next question then. Well, in today's fast-changing corporate environment with digital transformation and hybrid work and even diversity, do you believe that one-size-fits-all leadership development programs work? Or does context and culture and the individual's background demand a more tailored approach?
Okay, so this is a very long and long answer, but I would try to make it as short as possible. Connecting to the first thing that we said, it cannot be a one size fit kind of a approach at all. But that's exactly what's been happening for the last, say, 75 odd years. Just to give you a perspective, when this technically the leadership development industry started, or from when? Any just take a guess.
I'm guessing it won't be very old. It's comparatively relatively new.
Yeah.
Maybe in the 2000s.
Mid 50s. So mid 50s, that's when it started off from. It's basically started by U.S. Army. They wanted to actually get their colonels, first rank, the young officers training program, and that's how it all started. And it was more technical in nature, and they want to develop the future army generals and things like that. And then by 1960s, if my memory is not failing me, it shifted almost to the behavioral part of it, the leadership things and all that. And then you would see this modern leadership development. Most of the top universities today, if you'd actually see, they have executive training programs. One department which is focused not only academics, but there is a division for focusing only on executive development programs and so on and so forth. It's an industry. Now it's an industry. So now you would I know it might sound controversial here and there, but we are only sharing I'm sharing my views. And I have the authority to say, because I am inside this industry and I know what exactly is happening. Else, how can people like me earn money? Simple. If we don't thrive on the industry, then how can we do it? So as I told you, it's important for us to understand that you cannot have one common program and then send all your people into that particular program and think that leadership, that's a solution for a leadership development. No, that's not going to happen. Okay, let me give you one. Maybe it's not directly related to it, but you need to understand the perspective. And that's a question that I keep asking a lot of my team and my fraternity as well. Do you think 2 days of, let me ask this question. How much time does it take for a skill to become proficient? For example, you need to learn a skill. How much time does it take for you to become a mastery of the skill?
Well, I know that it takes 21 days to form a habit, but in terms of skills, I'm guessing it could be relatively same.
Okay. You know what? You'll be shocked or surprised to hear this. Science says there are various kinds of skills are there, simple skills and complex skills and this. So even if it's a simple skill that you want to learn, right? Maybe you want to, let's take about driving, right? You want to
Yeah.
drive a car, or maybe, drive a bike. You want to get a license. How much time do you think that you become an expert in that? Your driving license itself is going to be taking time, and then for you to learn without full balance, and even if you're talking over the mobile phone, and then there is a cat crossing your in front of you, without even your knowledge, you would apply a brake. That level of mastery for you to achieve, how much time does it take?
That took quite some time.
A lot, right? No, not knowing, not like, I know how to use a steering or a brake or anything, and then a cat goes 1 kilometer away, then here you put a brake. That's the starting stage of you're completely conscious about what you're doing, right? So I'm talking about mastery. And trust me, driving is not a very complex skills. Okay, it's yet not been a complex skill. A language is yes. Leadership. So any complex skill for you to learn it is going to be taking, at least science says, is somewhere between 6 to 18 months for you to become a master of that. One skill.
Yeah.
Shabana, one skill. Now today, leadership programs, leadership competencies in organizations that we are having, we have a laundry list of competencies. Rather skills and other things. Even if I have to say that a person has to undergo 3 skills for him to become rest all they have. Now 3 into 18, just imagine how many months it's going to take for him to kind of develop the skill. Now today, what's happening is you're putting someone for a 2-day workshop, 3-day workshop, or even for a 1 month of program, and then you expect a person to go into the particular program, and after coming back, class, you're trained. You have learned the skill. Is it possible?
No, I don't think so.
It's not possible. You can't get the skill. Now, just to give you another anecdote, if I have to tell you, you need to fly an aircraft. Flying tomorrow in Indigo. Yeah, they've started flying back again. So you have an Indigo flight tomorrow to catch, and suddenly they are saying that, hey, look, we have got captains right now, pilots. There are new pilots who just went through their licensing program yesterday, and that they came, and they are going to be like taking your flight. Do you think you will be there getting into their flight? They have learned it. They know the systems. They know everything. They know how to fly an aircraft because they have learned it in their classroom. Will you board them?
As a layman, in a layman's perspective, I wouldn't. Personally, if you ask, I will. I'm a little crazy that way.
They have just gone for, say, they got the license. I'm talking about this. They just got a license and going to be taking off on an A320 Airbus aircraft. You will go in with them? Well, if you go, good luck to you. I would certainly not. You know why?
No.
Because for a captain, because I'm coming from the aviation industry and closely I know that how the system works, and no brainer, everybody would be knowing this. Look at this. For you to get into that aviation experience, right? Becoming a pilot, experienced pilot, you need to have a basic qualification, and then you need to do a basic flying hours, which is like the small gladiator types, the aircraft you need to fly, and then you need to slowly graduate, and then you become a first officer in an airline company, and then you need to clock a minimum amount of flights for you to become a captain, and then you have a junior captain, you have a captain, and then you have a senior captain. It's a life journey of for you to become a senior captain or a commander of a flight. But what is that they're learning? What is they're doing? They're doing the same work of flying an aircraft. Yes, that has not changed. Maybe things have changed, but trust me, you will be known as a senior commander. You will be known as an expert in flying only after so many years of this thing. So essentially, what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to build here is that you learn something in a classroom, in education, or maybe in a classroom learning. You come back, you practice, you fail, you practice, you fail. Only then, after a lot of time, it becomes a skill for you. You agree with this context, right?
Absolutely.
It's going to be like quick, right? But now what's exactly happening is, after maybe executive programs or any one common program, I send everybody inside and they all come back, and we expect that they have been trained on the skill, which means that the skill is developed. It's like they become a captain, they become a senior commander. Possible? No.
No, that'll be a flawed approach.
Exactly. Exactly. So therefore, it has to be customized. So customized, spaced out. You need to have a coach. You need to have a mentor. You need to have on the job programs even before taking up a role of a CEO or a CFO or a CHRO, any bigger role or any role for that matter. The person should be shadowing the current person for 6 months, doing a lot of shadowing work, and then possibly he can acquire the skill not only on the classroom learning. But unfortunately, Shabana, let me tell you how the industry is working, or many of the organizations working today is, I sent for the training. Wow, great training, great, amazing trainer, lovely stuff. But after coming back, it gets back to the same old story of person doing the same thing again. Now I'll give you one more idea. Why am I talking about this? If I have to ask you a question, that you are a science student or you're a commerce student?
No, I was an art student.
You are an art student. I mean, it's a very important one. If I have to ask you, in your graduation, you list out all the subject names that you have learned. Will you be able to say that? All the subject names, leave alone the content. It will not
Not
come
the
to us
content.
immediately, right?
No, not the
Right?
content. Yes.
Will not come. I know I might be a little off here, but then just exactly happens. And if I have to ask you 3 days back, what did you have for your breakfast? Will you be able to recall? It takes some time for you to recall, right? Right.
Yeah.
Now, the same thing I have to tell you, you would have undergone a lot of training programs till now. I'm sure, some, training programs. If I have to ask you, what was told, what did you learn in all the training programs that you have ever done till now? Will you be able to recall? No. So that's what it's humanly not possible. And that's what science says. There is an interesting study called Ibhanga's curve. So he says that Ibhanga's curve, forgetting curve, it's called as forgetting curve, which says that whatever we learn, whatever we kind of acquire, here or anything, our human mind will be able to retain only 40% of it immediately within a week or so. And then we forget in about, I don't exactly know, but in less than 10 days or so, you would hardly remember 10% of what you have learned, right?
Okay.
Now that's forgetting curve, and we all undergo this. Now just imagine the earlier example that I told you, and this example that I'm giving you. One, you as human, it's not possible for us to remember what's exactly been happening in any workshop, right? Or anything that's been told. It's like watching a movie. It's great, lovely movie. I enjoy. Have you watched Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge?
Yes.
Right? I'm sure
Yes.
you're very young, but I was in college when I went and then saw the movie. But I don't remember the scenes, anything right now. But I'm still hooked with the emotion of the movie. And after that, there are a lot of movies that I've seen, but I don't recall. But some movies we are hooked, but we don't know the scenes. Just like this, some trainings we are hooked. We remember the trainer sometimes, but we don't know what has been taught, right? Now the question here is, now all those things do you think will be helpful for you in your work? If I remember my trainer, or if I know that wow, what's a wonderful program that was, is it going to move my needle here in the work that I'm doing? No. The answer is no. Why? Because
No.
what I learned, I need to come and apply here. I need to practice.
Correct.
If I don't practice, what is the purpose of me going through this 3 days of workshops and trainings and things like that? Are you getting the point? So therefore,
Yes.
as an industry, we need to transform. We need to rethink. We need to start looking at things which is more customized. Like if I'm identifying any leadership, skills with Shabana, they need to develop. I have two options: send her to a Harvard program and then get her trained and come back, and I'm not going to ask any questions after that. Let her do whatever it is, right? Or I would train her, I would assign her a coach or a mentor, and I keep giving her projects until I see that she has evolved, skill in that. And trust me, that's more powerful and
Correct.
transformation, which will impact the organization, and not generally
Correct.
sending people to a training program. The third point in this is something called learner curiosity. Now, you are a learner. You need to have the curiosity to learn, or agility.
Yes.
To say we also say it's agility. If you don't have that agility, if you don't have the innate need to learn, even the God comes and then wants you to train, you are not going to get trained yourself, because that's not in your orientation at all. Today we are
Yes.
like a pack of people we just send. We don't see how many people have the seriousness to learn, curiosity to learn. So therefore, I often say that shift the accountability of learning to the learner. So make him or her responsible for their learning, and you try to provide the ecosystem, which is conducive for them to learn. That's it. All you need is that. So you don't need any classroom learning, one size fit programs. It's putting your money down the drain, and I leave it here.
Right. That was quite some knowledge for me. I loved it. I mean, it's very relevant given the global workplaces, how they work today, So thank you. I am enlightened. I'm sure my listeners are too. So that takes me to another question that there's also a belief, that attending leadership courses, workshops, training sessions is sufficient to build leaders, like you said. So from your research-backed standpoint, how effective are these programs? I know you mentioned that you cannot, on-the-job training is what you would prefer. But what else must organizations do to convert learning into real leadership behavior?
Okay. Again, this is an extension of what we just discussed right now.
Yeah.
It all stems from there. Just before answering this to the point, I also want to tell you it's important for us to, therefore, when we talk about the first question, are leaders born? I always start looking at it. Just to give you an example, I wanted to give this example there itself. You know Imran Khan? Imran Khan, the Pakistan, ex-captain, right? Cricket captain.
Yes.
Now, he was the one who won the first World Cup for Pakistan. And what a player he used to be. He has this fantastic talent of picking up, identifying talent. Okay? And I'll come to that. So, you heard about this, the great player called Wasim Akram?
Yeah, yes.
Wasim Akram, I know you're very young, and I'm sure you would have seen those guys playing, and they were deadly players. Waqar Younis and Wasim Akram were like the best of the bowlers that they have ever seen. Pakistan cricket, Shoaib Akhtar and all that ever produced. But sticking on to Wasim Akram,
okay.
You know how Wasim Akram got into the chance of playing in Pakistan cricket? He was playing in a gully cricket. He was just playing in a gully cricket, bowling, and Imran Khan happened to be passing through that road, and he saw Wasim Akram bowling, and he stood there. He saw this guy, the kid, playing, and straight he was taken and put it, after some camping, and he was in the play, in the team. And he has not played any kind of regional or smaller tournaments, and that's how the legend says. I might be wrong here and there, but that's how the legend says. But here is what I'm wanting to tell you. So therefore, organizations, it's important that rather than putting everyone, you need to have the ability to identify hidden potential in the gem, right? In the gem of the people. So it's important that people like me, the L&D professionals, the leadership development professionals, the HR professionals, the business leaders, the important talent or a skill that they need to have is to identify these people who have the innate capacity to lead. Right? This is called as potential. Only then I will be able to pick up the best of the guys and put them into the leadership development programs, and then they would be able to, outcome of it. So that's one thing that I want to touch upon. The reason is leadership workshops are useful, and I'm not trying to say that it's not useful at all, but useful for right people and not for all of them. It's for the right people. What kind of people that we are sending in. So, but is it alone important or sufficient? No, it's not sufficient. You need to have a lot more to do it. So people focus more on the leadership development workshops, but then things which needs to be done after that is always hollow, never been followed up. You put into a program, great, and then you come out. I keep jokingly say this, not jokingly. I'm very serious about this. Till the time LinkedIn has come out with a culture of coming out with photographs of certificates and I have cleared this and other things, which I am also doing it. I'm doing it for more of awareness of my people, if at all people can get inspired and learn, because a certification is not proof of a skill. A certification is a proof of a knowledge that I've learned it. Likewise, any leadership development program, if somebody has, have completed, displaying it, it's good. But it should be limited to that. Saying that they have undergone the program doesn't mean that they have acquired the skill. There are different people who are they're perceiving that these guys have got the skill. No, they have not got the skill. They have just gone into probably a factory and come back, and that's it. They have not got the skill. So, interesting study that I want to say is that research also says that only 10 to 15% of leadership capability comes from formal training. Only 10 to 15% of the capability is being ever developed in formal training. Interesting, isn't it? We are talking about the rest of you're burning your money, billions of money around this formal training programs and executive programs and classroom learnings and things, e-learnings and so on and so forth, which is important. I'm not denying that, but that should not be the only focus. And thinking that people are the output is going to be like effective. No, it's not going to happen. And I'm not saying this. This has been said by Center of Creative Leadership 2024 report. And 70% they believe it comes from real experiences. Now connect with the leaders are born. Most of the guys who are born are people who have in them, and their leadership is shaped by the experiences that they face, the crisis that they manage. That's how they do it, right? So if I don't create those experiences for my leaders, never they are going to be learning the trick of it, right? So, but then unfortunately, there aren't much experiences that are getting created, focused more on classroom learnings. 20% comes from mentorship and probably the feedback thing. So, which means that it's important that you need to have a mentor. So, I would probably learn more from a person who has lived my life in the corporate scenario before. I would want to learn from them because they would have experienced it. So I can learn more from that. I can learn more from my, the idea of doing things, and not only, in a workshop or a formal learning. But unfortunately, today it is completely a different pyramid. More focus on the formal learning and very less, focus on mentorship. Maximum what people do is they send people for coaching, which is a very important one, but not mentorship. Mentorship and coaching has a lot of difference, right? So therefore, I would want to say, conclude that it's leadership. I'm not saying that it is not useful. I would say that it is not sufficient. I feel that the existing leadership development programs has to undergo a complete overhauling, redesigning, focus more on experience learning, focus more on mentoring, less on classroom learning, shift the learner accountability, hold the learners accountable for their own learnings, fix promotions only if you complete a certain level of training programs you will be given, and you pay money. Why would organization we are ready to pay? Let's say for an organization should be ready to pay for it. But you pay from your pocket first. I know I might sound controversial. If you want your promotion, learn the skill. You get the skill. Show me the skill. Take the promotion and go. As opposed to the other one. Often we think that performers can become leaders. Performance and potential are completely two different things. So there are many things to it. But I'm really eager to say that if the industry is shifting the pyramid and focusing more on experiential learning, giving the experiences for people, that would be a great time to see in the organizations, especially in the leadership development area.
Correct. You just actually answered my last question, because I wanted to know if the ways how can organization manage this continuous learning, and how can leadership development can be embedded into their culture. So you just actually mentioned it, that they are two different things, and it's
so most of the questions were like interrelated. But you know what? I just to give you a question you just mentioned about, and then the previous, and sum it up. What's a proof of leadership development? If I have to ask this question to you, what should be the proof of any leader who gets into a leadership program, and what's the proof of it that yes, this gentleman or this lady is like great? What's the proof of the outcome? What's a return on investment? If I have to say, what should be ideal?
How to know? I think it will be definitely based on previous experiences and the outcomes that has been delivered because of so and so this person has done.
Brilliant. So
Yeah.
again, this is the difference that I wanted: a management output and leadership output. Okay, so two different things. So leadership
Correct.
output. Let me give you an example. Now we are all been the last 3 weeks. Last 1.5 2 weeks. India is facing a big crisis in terms of aviation industry. Right,
Mm.
a company which is earning a profit of 7,500 crores profit.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm. Mm.
do you think they would not have invested in leadership development programs?
No, that would be impossible to believe in. So,
Right? They would have invested,
correct.
right? So, which means that they would have the CEOs, and then they're the best of the professionals who are there top level. They would have undergone, not now, maybe in the previous organizations, wherever it is. They are there in the thing for last 10 odd years. The best in the having more than 60% market share in Indian skies.
Mm.
What happened when the crisis came? The outcome is basically the leadership. The leader has to manage a crisis, isn't it?
Correct.
It's not about managing a few people, managing processes, managing. No, so that for that you can get a lot of administrative experts who can come and then do it. You are being there. You are being so-called developed for managing crisis. But
Correct.
when the crisis hit, where were you?
Mm.
Unfortunately, I
True.
mean, there could be various school of thoughts, but I believe that when you should have either avoided it proactively. That's what leadership
Mm.
means. You should have
Correct.
strategically tried to have some other plan B, plan C, or whatever it is. You should have had
Mm.
many ways to kind of minimize it. But what happened?
Mm. Correct.
So, I mean, as much as I fail to understand if they have undergone all those programs as of now,
Mm.
this was a time for them to kind of show the return on investment. But if here they are not able to show, then
Yeah.
what is about spending so much of money, and it's all down the drain, right? So,
Yeah.
so if
That's
you want to send people for leadership, don't call it as development, call it as engagement. I'm okay, right?
mm.
Engagement thing, like I want to keep my employee happy, so I'm sending them some 3 days of workshop in a hotel, great place. Engagement, employee engagement. Don't call it as a development program. So this crisis in India clearly exposes the current gaps that we are having
Mm.
in terms of developmental process, and especially in the leadership space. So this is also one more thing that I want to tell you is leaders are born. Maybe a born leader would have actually managed it far better than people who have been trained and developed after I don't know how many years that they had.
Mm.
So that's what I want to conclude.
My goodness, that was. I mean, you shared such powerful insights today. It was so interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, I wish now I could have prepared some more questions for you because I did not really want to end this. But okay, all good things come to end, and I guess I'm sure our listeners and all the aspiring leaders and organization builders will really walk away with a refreshed and more realistic, practical, and yet hopeful understanding of leadership development. So, Srijit, thank you so much. You were very helpful today. And I just want to let everyone tuning in know that if you are an HR or aspiring to lead, remember that leadership isn't an exclusive club. It is a journey. It is an ongoing journey, and we have just peeled off the myths, right? So that's all, I think, for today's episode of Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. And if you enjoyed this conversation and you found value in it, do share it with your peers. So, Srijit, would you like to conclude with any new,
Thank you.
anything?
Thank you, Shabana. Thank you for having me on your show. I was, as much as you, I was very excited about, because I've been writing on LinkedIn and sharing my thoughts across, and this is a great platform for me to kind of share my thoughts. I know I would have ruffled a couple of, some feathers. Some of them who are my own fraternity would be not agreeing to my viewpoint, but that's okay. We all have our own views, and I'm talking from my experiences, and I'm in a great intent. How can we transform organizations? Science says all those facts and figures. So, and I also want to say that for those people who think, oh, leadership cannot be taught, then what I am, but you might be a born leader. Try to find out the traits that it's hidden in you. So all of us have that innate skills in us. We just have to identify that. Even if you don't have, maybe we can't find, just talk to mentors. People approach someone who has lived that life, and they would be able to show a better, career, especially for the youngsters that I want to leave them this thought with. So as a very, conclusion, I would want to say that leadership isn't taught. To me, it's like more spiritual, which means that it needs to be awakened. It's there in you. It needs to be awakened. So it's a conscience that you have inside, and it needs to be awakened, and then that trigger will happen anytime in your life. So you might be seemingly a very common person right now, but some trigger can come some way or the other. The awakening happens, and there would be the larger than the human in you will arise, and you will become the best. So that's what I wanted to leave your viewers and you as a thought. And thank you for having me on the show. God bless you.
Absolutely. It was a real pleasure to have you on the show. And yes, listeners, you heard it. So go on, share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Vantage Influencers Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and our Vantage Circle YouTube channel for the latest episodes.